We are here actually in Delhi and in Sketches for a very exciting exploration of ideas, of paths forward in the Montessori movement, and we're standing at a sort of crossroads, and so it's very exciting to be here to make plans for the future. And so because we are here for that, I think that to be here with people whom we are connected with because of children, that's very important, that children become the common link that bring us all together, and that their well-being, the future of this, the future of society, but the future of the world really is in the hands of the young. And so for us to gather and think about how we raise them today, I don't think there is a more important conversation to have with anyone beyond this idea of the child. As a parent of a young child, I think that all the way between birth and 12 years, I think at this time, the input that the exposure, the input, the life that they have between birth and 12, this becomes a fundamental social service that each of you are doing, in a sense. Raising your child is your contribution to society. I mean, in a sense that if we look at what we are, the values we hold, I mean, I can come to the Montessori ideas, but the values we hold, the people we are, we were created by our families. Each of us came to our interests, we all went to school, but our parents, our values, they began from the day we were born. And education is not something that a school setting, particularly the way it's conceived now, can actually provide. The school setting can only give us some passing information, which we are told, I feel, is more and more helpful for us to live a life. But I don't know, as we go along, one questions whether this information that we have, I always ask a group of parents, if we had to take the 10th standard board exam and take the math exam tomorrow, would any of us do it? And if we can't, and are we still leading good lives? We're leading good lives. So we are not able to tell our children why they need to take that 10th standard maths exam or what value it has. Just that it's very good for you, please do it. Please study, please do it, because somehow you shouldn't become a misfit in society. You must finish school. And we're telling them these things, but we really have no clear answer as to their questions about. I was just listening to my neighbor's son asking his mother, all these things, trigonometry that I'm studying, what use is it going to be in my life? And I just felt so sorry for her, because it is not a question that is easy for any of us to answer. And the reality is that it's not that trigonometry is a bad thing. It's just that we have put so much force, pressure. That boy just walks up and down the corridor, going from test to test to test to test to test. And so it's like, it's a question of, what are we doing with life, with questions. And every time we swim against it, we question ourselves, we worry, are we doing the right thing? These children have so much fun, and they're always talking about the things that, not any of the conventional things that a child says when they come home from school. So are we doing the right thing? This is a question that all Montessori parents have swum with, the people who run Montessori schools all over the country. All of us have sort of started swimming against the tide. And so it's not an easy place for any of us to be. But to come back to these big ideas and to understand in a much more old and new way what we do. I think that we stand on crossroads because Maria Montessori's work and life, it was between 1800, she was born in 1870, she died in 1952. But because Montessori's work was empirically based in the observation of children, I feel there's a universal relevance that has never faded from this work. And what is that? That comes from studying a creature, a living creature, closely, who had never in a way been studied before, a baby, a child. We never really studied behavior. And so, how do you study behavior? If you want to understand a tiger, you look at a zoologist or a natural scientist. When they study an animal, they study the animal in its what we now know to be its natural habitat. So when we put a child in a pram, and then when we tie the child into a dining seat, can we call this their natural environment or their natural state? That 1907 school, which Montessori began in Rome, it was a chance occurrence, right? A group of construction workers, children coming together, very poor children coming together with a person who was not a teacher. Children went to school only when they were 6. So 2.5 to 6, they were not expected to be in a school. So this accident in a way, and the observation of behavior, where there was no expectation of what they would do, but they were only watched as to what they did in a setting in which they were free. That is what brought these discoveries, which were empirically, whenever these conditions were replicated, they happened over and over again. They happened across cultures. Montessori replicated these conditions then from Rome to the Netherlands, to England, to India, everywhere. She actually had traveled around the world except for I think Africa. She had literally been on so many continents, and in America, all these places where when there were things which were accessible to them and conditions where there was no teacher, only an observer, and in conditions where the children were able to for want of a better word, be free of constant adult intervention, then children manifested their true nature and we became aware of who children are. So in a way, that relevance, I feel, is truer today than it was even in Montessori's time. We are seeing children more and more in conditions where we adults as a society, yes, every parent wants the best for their child, every society even wants its best for the child, but with greater and greater misunderstanding of what is freedom, greater and greater misunderstanding of what is the natural conditions in which children must be, greater and greater misunderstandings of when are children happy, when we get confused about those things. So the very nature of childhood is in a way misunderstood, and we create conditions around the child where the child no longer can manifest who he really is, and so these conditions that we call in a Montessori context, we call it the prepared environment, an environment which is readied with understanding to facilitate the child's natural growth, natural development, where this is possible, where we can see it unfold. Those are the conditions which are created in a Montessori school. In any Montessori school at any age group, this is what they need. They need an environment which has things, objects, but also an environment in which there are people, a community of people who understand them, and we understand and set up conditions where children can be really free. That freedom is not it is not to be understood as the freedom to do anything. The freedom of one individual who lives in a society is bound by rules, and they are the same thing. The rules that are in any society are based on what is good for everybody. So the basic freedoms in a Montessori environment are the same as for any citizen of any free nation, right? So it's the freedom of speech, the freedom of movement, and the freedom of choice. And so these essential freedoms are they are uncompromising. They have to have for us, any of us, forget about children, even for us, to be happy, we need freedom. We need the freedom to choose. We should be able to speak when we want to speak. We should not feel silenced. We should not feel that I am not heard. That is very important for any of us. So these conditions of freedom are naturally beset by rules. The rules happen because I am free to speak, but I cannot disturb you when you're working. So I am free to move, but my movement cannot hurt somebody else. I am free to make a choice, but when there is only one of something and somebody else is working with it, I have to wait. Those rules bring about discipline. Discipline is not enforced from an external teacher and held by the teacher and says, no, you shouldn't do this, you can do this. But it comes from these hidden rules of society, which we all must follow to be happy. In a home, in a bus, you get into a bus and you all got a ticket, everyone has equal rights. But one person is pregnant, one person is holding a stick, then whose freedom, who is freer, who is not freer? It is your choice and your consciousness and your morality which needs to function because there are many people. If it was only me in the bus and I'm alone with my ticket, there is no need for morality. Moral integrity comes when there is a group, and the group must ensure the good of everybody. So these are the very simple principles on which this environment is calibrated. We think because of all these materials that there are such beautiful materials for the 3 to 6 and the 6 to 12 years, that the learning comes from these materials. Yes, it does. I don't deny that. That's true. The beautiful learning comes. It is sensorial, it is intellectual, it fulfills us, it is free, it is individual. Often it's individual or in a small group where we can discuss our knowledge, we can hold it together, peer knowledge, peer engagement. All of those things are there. But they are at a lower level of learning than the learning to live in a society, to live together, to live with the benefit of all in mind at all times. So others before me is the calibration of a Montessori environment. It's what it's based on. And so I think this very intense philosophy, intense, in a way simple but difficult to practice. Yes, it's always easy to say others before me. But when every moment for a child, when I want it, I have to wait, is a moment of self-regulation, self-correction, it's never forced by somebody else. It's always I who have to regulate myself. So this strength of regulation, self-regulation, the strength of character, the sense of, being able to wait, being able to persevere. It's very difficult for me, but I will keep going. I'll keep trying again and again. If I don't know, I'll find out. What are the strategies by which I must find out? Let me try it again. I'm finished only when the mat has returned to the shelf and everything is as though nothing had happened. So I know how to begin a task, I know how to carry out the task, and I know how to wind up to a point where in society no one is disturbed. At the end, nothing remains. Imagine any work that we do in life, any work, whether you're in computers, whether you're in tech, whether you're in building a road, whether you're an engineer, it doesn't matter what that work is. These are the universal qualities of work. So ultimately, Montessori education is about work and a relationship that human beings have with work. And it takes as its premise, Montessori believed that human beings were born to work and that we can be happy only when we work. And we derive our satisfaction and happiness from our work. And so we get our identity from work. We engage body and mind in work. So it is work that ultimately makes us happy. Ideal people are rarely happy. I mean, you need even refreshing ourselves is a different kind of work, isn't it? Yes, when you are overworked, you may need a rest. But rest is a different kind of work. I mean, it's a walk, or it's people find sailing a holiday, right? So when does sailing become a holiday? Sailing itself is work. bicycling itself is work. So when you look at life and rest, work and rest in a Montessori setting, as she understood it, were the same thing. It's not that you don't need rest, but your rest is not idleness. Human beings are happy when they work, and that is the premise. And we know children, from the Montessori schools and the observations of over 100 years of observation in Montessori schools, we know the happiest children are working children. Children who work, children who engage, children who are deeply committed to that work and then get from that work that joy and satisfaction. And so it is to enable these conditions that we really have Montessori school, and therefore a Montessori school never works in isolation with teachers and children. It by very definition, it's a community-based effort. You cannot have a Montessori school without a group of invested parents. You need a group of parents who have invested of their understanding, of their time, of their commitment to an education which is beyond just content. That it is character education, that it is education for life, which is what this is. So community-based education is a very, now we say it very easily. And often in our cultures, I feel we say community-based education when it becomes about poor people. And actually that is not true. In any situation, education and community-based education is the only education that is possible. If children must learn in a way that they should not forget, right? I just asked you about your math exam. Why is that math exam not possible for us to write tomorrow? Because we worked only with memory and we tortured memory. So we cannot take our math exam tomorrow. Not even a math exam which is supposed to be for adults. We cannot take a children's math exam tomorrow because we did not hold it with understanding. So the basic understanding of learning itself in a Montessori school is learning is a permanent state. Learning is not something that you go to sleep, you wake up and now you've forgotten because you've tortured your memory, you've stuffed it in and then it's gone. My neighbor's child, both my neighbor's children are now teenagers, so they're all taking board exams. So I very often talk to them and I hear them. And we've been working with adolescents as well, and so it's very, very much in my mind. A little girl who was taking her board exam, came down to walk with me round and round the building. And then I said, you're here walking and don't you have board exam tomorrow? She said, Auntie, tomorrow there's biology. I came to take out the physics so that once I take out the physics, I'll go exam. The poor child, I was like, oh my God, I want to give you a hug, my dear. Please take it out as much as you can and make some room for yourself. So it's become such a moment, that we stress them to a level where this is necessary as a society. And I'm not saying that we do it without love. There's so much love, there's so much affection, I'll give you everything you want, I've given up my job, I'm going to stay with you, I'm going to give you your milk, I'm going to stand with you, just study. So that you don't lose it in this moment of stress, you don't lose this. So I think there's such a high level of a single window to understanding or growth, or which for something most of which you will forget. Ultimately nothing that we don't love do we hold. So learning and knowledge in a Montessori context are not about content which is piecemeal. It's about understanding the world in which we live, understanding how to engage with it, how to extract knowledge from it. If you look at the elementary children who have gone from a secure 3 to 6 class they are ready to extract knowledge, find out what they wish to know. And I think that beginning with your own interests, when you're able to build it and when you're able to do your own research, to understand for yourself, and you explain to others what you know, then you hold education in a completely different way. When you tell somebody about something that you love, you're in a completely different place from, that's the ultimate real test of when you go to work in the real world. That's the test, final test, that I love this work that I do and I'm able to express and talk about it to everybody else. And I think that whole idea is a very important idea in this education, and I think that because it is so, it has become so much a part of the way in which we look at education has to so dramatically shift and change in order for us to create these spaces in which our children are happy. Children are working and children are happy, and we hold these philosophical principles together as a community to make it happen in this community. And I just wanted to share that, that because I'm being here exploring with Nidhi and Nishant, the possibility of running a course here for training teachers. It's a very big step for a very small, it's an international course, there are many requirements, the course itself is very rigorous, and the fact that there's a community here in Noida in which this can even happen was only like a dream. We've been talking about a course in Delhi. There's no Montessori course in Delhi for over 10-15 years at least we've been talking here, surely. And I think even before Sketches started, people were saying, we don't have an AMI course in the north. And AMI, I must say that the Montessori training that Ruby and I are engaged in is a training which is connected to the international headquarters we have an international headquarters in Amsterdam, where Maria Montessori lived the last part of her life. And in her home, the headquarters was set up pretty much the last few years of her life. Because even in Montessori's time, she would be invited to a Montessori school and they would not have any of the principles that she professed in those schools. So it's very difficult to actually put these philosophical principles together and have them move into perpetuity to support children without teachers and without some training and without some reading and some knowledgeable person there to look after the children, to work with these materials and to help to create these environments and to explain the context to the society in which they are. So these courses were started in 1929 and in the last few years since before she died, she had actually set up the possibility of running this course all over the world. And for a very long time, there were just 3 courses in India. Now we have many more training centers, we have many more trainers over the country, and so we've been in conversation to begin a course here. And I just feel, it's just, even if no one, even if it's not a well-known method, and though people talk about Montessori, as all of you know, I'm sure, that if you tell your neighbor that your child goes to a Montessori school, everyone has their own idea of what that means. Some people say, oh, they let the children do whatever they like. Then some people say, oh, they don't teach the children to write till very late. And, so there are many, whatever they have heard in bits and pieces about this. So the idea that this is starting here and it will start here in May, and that it will be a very big step for this area, not only for Noida, but I think in fact for all of Delhi. And I think that is such a special thing, and I would really like to congratulate Niti and Nishant for having pushed this to this point where we could actually have a course and to actually start talking about a community where this is even possible, such a strong team of people talking about it. So we are also here not only to talk about your children today, but also to make that request that even though it's a small effort, it's the beginning of something very, very important and significant in this part of the world. And so to enlist your aid in taking the word out to family, to friends, to people. And one of the things that Ruby and I always talk about is the idea that everyone wants the best education for children, but fewer and fewer people are coming into teaching. So I think
you don't want your children to be teachers, right?
That's what I say.
I want to meet one parent who's happy. But you're like one in the minority. Very few parents would be happy, including my parents. Till the day she died, she still said, "Are you sure you want to be teaching?" So very few parents, especially in Asia, want their children to teach. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's, for various reasons, right? There are many reasons for that. And I think that to encourage people to understand what a fulfilling and what a wonderful, both of us have spent most of our lives with children. And I think that what it gives you is something that you can't even express in words, right? And so to bring more people into it, to remember how it tastes, how fulfilling it is and how wonderful it is to be a part. When you're a child's first teacher, it's a forever kind of thing, they remember you, they come back. Some of my children are so grown up now, and it's just wonderful to be a part of that. So to spread the word and to bring more people into this kind of work, and to consider that for many of yourselves, is something that is part of the sharing that I would like to have ended this little talk with. I think that I'm here to answer your questions. I'm here to support you with your questions with parenting or with your children. I'm here to support the staff of Sketches, and we are really here to begin and start a program which we hope will flourish in this setting and also be of great benefit to the children in this area. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you for being part of this. Yes.
Can we add that little invitation for the first 3 weeks of the course?
Yes.
Can we mention that too?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, since we thought that since we're going to run this course here, and normally the first 2 weeks of the course, the majority of the course is actually a very practical aspect, because we have to, teachers have to understand what all these activities are for. But before we offer this, we offer an understanding of the theory behind, child development. So that normally takes about the first 2 weeks of the course. So we were talking about it, kind of opening up those 2 weeks to
anyone who is interested, all of you would like to.
Anyone who's interested, just coming to listen and get a little bit of, taste of or understanding of what Montessori really is. So if you know anyone who'd like to do that, I think you speak to Niti and Nishant.
Yes. And the whole team. And I have absolutely no context for that. So that's a very, these are the hardest questions to answer because we don't know the children. But I can only give you broad and general principles. Aggression of any kind is a cry for help. The child is finding something that is an obstacle. The usual obstacle for any child with aggression is a lack of consistency and insecurity. So insecurity has to be fixed. Insecurity can be fixed only with orderly life. There are two aspects to order. For a child who's under 2.5, order comes from things being in their place. You will see them often, even if they put things here and there, they like to go and put it back there. If it's not there, they'll cry. So they like that thing to be where it is. But as they grow older, the order comes from routine. So if the routine is smashed for any reason and they cannot predict the future, then they often are upset. And also the other problem is that often, this is only my observation of parents, that we are okay to say no. Immediately we say no. Then the children cry. Then the crying gets louder. Then as the crying gets louder, we are in a public context, we get embarrassed. And then by embarrassment, the no turns into yes. And it's also cultural. You don't have admission in the school, right? The school has said no. So what do? Do we accept the no? What do people do when there's no admission in the school? Right. You find another way, you find somebody you find. So children are used to no's turning into yeses. Our society is like that. There's no ticket on this train. But somehow if you put some pressure somewhere, and you're in Delhi, definitely you will find some way around it to get in. So it's that. So it's the whole culture around them is that. So no must never turn into yes. So pick your no's and then stick to the no. And then create secure boundaries of rules around the child. Not having rules is scary. I'll tell you a simple example. You have, in Bombay, the bus queues are like, if you're standing for a bus queue, they will kill you if you break the leaf. They will kill you. So the people stand in queue, but they have a lot of faith that you can get into the bus. If you're in that queue, the queue will move and you'll get in the bus. So if the bus moves, the next bus is going to come immediately. There is absolute faith. So you're ready to stand in the queue. But in any place where there are queues, in a religious place, in a temple, in anything, if there is a queue and somebody breaks it, then you will find this confusion all along. Everyone will break the queue and try to push, because now you don't know what the rule is anymore. Will you get in? Will you not? So when there are no rules in any society, children are afraid. Children who test boundaries, test it to feel secure. I know these are my limits. So if there are no limits, it's very scary. So children need limits from the time they are young. Limits meaning what? Not mean limits where you are not going to give them. Why are those limits created? They are created in the best interests of the child. So once you are clear that this rule is in the best interests of the child, then be secure with that rule and don't change that. But if you are not, if you feel that the problem is rules are often made for adult convenience, right? There was a rule in one young child's life that he can't go in the balcony. Any slight door left ajar, he'll be in the balcony, right? So that rule was not made for the child. That was made for the adult. Then that won't work. That won't work. You will have to see what you need to do to help the child feel secure in the balcony. So those are things you have to think through carefully. Make the rules and stick to the rules. And if you do, you should see a reduction of all forms of aggression.
And to add to that, I think that's why we always would like parents to come and understand a little bit about, in a way, what does the child need in order to develop. And that is from the very, very young baby. Because sometimes we put obstacles when the need is there, the inbuilt need to move is there, for example, and we keep picking the child up or we keep doing things. So in a way what we're doing is the child who is what we call a strong character fights back, and that is the beginning of that aggression. You're stopping me, so I scream. You're stopping me, so I scream, right? So then it becomes a fight against, in a way, what basically nature is pushing the child to do. That's why we feel parents need to understand what does the child need to do in order to develop. So that's again the general. So when we know that a child needs to, in a way, run sometimes or climb the stairs, and we allow the child to do that, then they don't get this kind of defensive response. And then sometimes we have to look and see how we respond to the child's behavior. Sometimes the adult is aggressive. And so the child learns that the only way...
Yesterday, they were putting a little thing on a baby, right? The hair was falling in her eyes. The parent was behind the child. The child was looking in front and was in one of those little chairs where she's trapped. Parent was behind the child. Must have been what? 1.5? Yeah. 1.5 years. So the parent from behind just caught the hair like that and started making a thing. And so the child was first startled. You could feel that she hadn't even seen it coming. And then there was screaming like, you know, that pulling the hair, pushing the hair. So there was no preparation whatsoever. If the child parent had just come around the front and said, I think your hair is falling in your eyes. We think they don't understand, but they do understand. Your hair is falling in your eyes. Shall I put it up? I think we can put it up. Here, see, here's the rubber band. I'm going to hold your hair. Yes, there would have been cooperation. So it was just a 1 minute thing. But now for 5, 10, 15 minutes, she's wailing, beating the thing, getting ready to throw the plate. So it was so sudden and so quick. And obviously you don't want the hair to fall in the eyes. That was a very good and a very wonderful, you notice that this child, it's getting in her eyes. You know it comes from a very good place. But it's just that 1 second of noticing that. So we have no idea, and I have no idea whether we help this person. Yeah. But the idea is that there must be freedom, but there must be rules, and those rules must be consistently followed, and children will feel secure. I think that's what we want.
Yes, and aggression will get what they want. From my point of view, it's very difficult to make someone make friends with someone else. That's an impossibility. I think the only, for me, is exposure. I can't, it's a very individual kind of experience. We don't know your daughter and why the confidence may not be there or what it is about, why she's reserved. So, and maybe from the beginning, because you've always been there for her, maybe that's something that she has to detach from, because you are also feeling it, and children are very sensitive. So they feel that you are also afraid of letting them go down. That might have been the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And now it's become just the norm.
What would help best? I know we usually don't work on the child,
To
but
work
on
on
the
an individual child is a very difficult thing for us to do. It's the...
It's the age also, because she's just at the point of transitioning into elementary 6.
I think that, friendship, first of all, we have to also take into consideration personality. There are some of us who readily and immediately in a party can go and talk to everyone, and there are some of us who just can't. And I think that is really something that is, I don't know whether we need to have that change and or be a source of worry. I think people who don't immediately make friends in a party are still very happy people. And so I think that is first thing, it may not be something to worry about. So that's one thing. If you stop worrying about it, it's less likely to worry her. So then if you don't worry whether she has a lot of friends or a few friends, then we don't worry so much about it. I would be much more inclined to worry if there is bad behavior. And she, in a social group, she's hitting somebody or pushing somebody all the time and is aggressive. Those are far more important things to worry about, because that means she doesn't actually know how to fit into a society. But to be reserved or to make friends or to go out and find common people, I don't think it's anything to worry about. And if it is about the outdoors and being outdoors, then I think that creating some rule, particularly since she's turning 6, it would be good to create some rules and some reasons around it. And also not, because it's very hard to create rules for children which they don't see followed by others around them. That also becomes at 6 a big question. Why should I? Why don't you? Why should I when they don't do it? This is the age for that. So it's a very difficult thing to give her a reason, except that these are the values and this is the thing of our family. So in this, this is be the deal that every day we decide that it is important to spend time outdoors. It's important to spend time outdoors without access to a phone, without access to a screen, without access to books, to be out and look at nature. You don't have to do this or this. You can do what you like, but you need to be out and about, and that is important. And so, shall we decide what time you'd like to go and what time you'd like to come back? So, give some choices and some parameters. Say you have to do this, but you have some choices within that, and see how that works.
And also the freedom is their freedom to do something, and your freedom is to be there too. So there are times that you have to be busy, and you can't be with them. So that's a it's just a fact.
She's definitely old enough to understand that. The other thing is consistency, So once you try it, and then 2 days later she tries, I don't want to go down without you. Then I say okay. Then that's the beginning of a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
For any of us to enjoy something, it takes time. So if I'm not consistently kept on that path for enough period of time, I don't start enjoying it. So it has to be, once the rule is created, it's 45 minutes every day at this time, then for no reason at all should that be changed. So before you create the rule, Don't paint yourself into a corner where you can't make it happen. Then you're really in a corner. Then you really are on the back foot with a child whose questions you will never be able to. That sounds like that question had been answered many times, and we are now still shopping for a different answer that I would like to hear. So if you're expecting me and Ruby to say help her with letters and numbers, yeah, that we will never say that because we don't think that's
Does she have her own shelf with things neatly on it where she can go and get her clothes? Is the kitchen set up so that she can help you and live life with you? That's the setup, isn't it?
Yeah.
Order, part of the family, part of the community. That you are not her. I don't use the word tutor. That she is also independently living in that house as much as she can. Do we involve that child in that living? Or is it set up to entertain the child, and set up that you do everything for the child? It should be set up where they are doing things for you. As Rupu always says, you even by the age of 3 or 4, when if your child goes away for the night, you should be missing the child and say, oh, nobody's bringing me water, or nobody's doing this, or that kind of thing. They're just part. Not that they have to do it, but they just know it's.
I don't know if there are any elementary parents here, but my favorite thing for elementary parents is, and all the 3 to 6 parents, please become aware that in very few years, the elementary years will be here. So, I mean, to have the child live as though the child lives in a hotel, that is the worst disservice you can do with the child. The child needs, literally, the child, I mean, I have a whole list of things children should be able to do by the time they are 7 or 8. Make tea for every guest. Definitely wash the wash basin. Definitely clean out the balcony. Definitely, manage all the books. The ironing in the house. The washing machine and loading it. Getting the things counted. The shopping list made and the shopping list ready for ordering. These things should be the child's work. And the thing is, it will be at an age. Of course, you'll have to show them. It will be at an age when they want to. When do you want them to do these things? When it's a fight, you're a teenager, now you don't care about me. You left all your clothes on the floor. Now you're 18. Now you have no, way of actually having that. But if you know something about the household budget, if you know how much is spent on groceries every month, if forget about money. Look at the environment. Look at the air in Delhi. Is there some way that we can reduce our electricity bill as a family? Is there something you can do? How many units are we using? This is the age when they are intellectually hungry. 6 and a half. The children should be involved in these discussions at home. So that is something that we have to, it's not. I don't know, series of classes that we put them in, no?
Anyway.
Tennis, craft, whatever it is. Even not forget about tutoring. Montessori parents, I hope, don't send their children for maths tutoring. But having said that, if you send them for craft class, guitar class, music class, tennis class, I'm not saying that children shouldn't do any of these things. But these things come out of a context. If there's love for sport in the house and people play, then children will go to that class happily and the love will be nurtured at home. So if you are in a context where you have to go to the music class and that poor Hindustani music teacher for half an hour every week has to nurture love, that's not possible. Unless you're willing to go to the music concerts, unless you're willing to listen to it, unless you are the person who loves it, love cannot be taught in a class. So what we are after is something far deeper. It can be anything. But it can't be beyond, series of classes won't teach them that. That is the difficulty.
Let us come back to, if you want to be like what it's like, it's about showing the child, letting the child do, and being patient letting them repeat making mistakes and not worry about mistakes and not go and not say I showed you already 10 times. So being friendly with mistakes, allowing them to repeat, make the mistakes, showing them, doing with them for a while when they're young enough until they're able to. They will let until you let go slowly.
Oh, I know what I can say to this parent. I suddenly thought of it. You can create a library. A library with 3,000 books. You can't buy 3,000 books. I never used to put numbers on this. But nowadays I realize they say yes, we have books. And there are about 4 for children. So I now put numbers on these things. 3,000 books. You can't buy them overnight, obviously. You can't create a library overnight. So my own personal library took like 30 years to get built. So start a library. Start a library in your house. Your children need books. They need storybooks. They need books which are non-fiction. They need good books. They need. I don't care what you say about the fact that they don't need. You know, I've had this argument with many people whether you need books now or not, or whether books are on their way out or not. Read a passage. The fact is that all of you take this for granted because you can do it now as adults. So the issue doesn't even arise for you. But for younger children now whom I'm meeting at adolescents, they can't read a passage and summarize it. They cannot read a passage and extract 2 sentences about what is this about. They read it with great difficulty. And so I think if you don't get people to read, then the information technology that's out there will not serve them well. Because they can't extract anything. So we need books and we need 3,000 books. I've decided that I'm going to give people numbers.
Some of the 3,000 should be things that you will sit down and read too.
Yeah, enjoyable books.
Actually, if you as adults, if you don't read, why would the children read?
Set aside a budget every month, help the children to make it. Find a lovely place where my books, your books, mummy's books, grandpa's books are all beautifully. Create shelves.
Comfortable place to sit and read.
Yeah, all of those.
We have to love activities so that children follow, and I don't like domestic work.
You have to pretend. Sometimes you have to make yourself.
Sometimes we have to. I also don't like domestic work all the time, but there are some times when it's enjoyable. And I think that it's not about so much enjoying it every moment. I think that's very zen, and you have to live in this moment, and when I build this table, I'm totally in that moment. That is one way of looking at it. But even then, just getting it done to get it done together. It's much easier to do domestic work when you're with a group, with your family than when you're alone and resentfully and angrily doing it for others. So if you are, if after the meal, if everyone doesn't disappear leaving you alone, it won't be so bad. So then, as long as everyone knows you do a little bit, then everyone is okay. So even if you're okay with it, it's okay. Everyone doesn't have to love everything.
And also you think of education. What is it that we need to, in order to be actually efficient as we get older, is to finish off what we start. So in our homes, if we focus on helping, in a way, the children understanding that there is always a finish, then you're actually helping the children with their education, right? Because how many people can't finish what they start?
Outer order has given way to intellectual order. Everything that is classified already in the outer world has benefited the child to actually look at the world already and classify in the mind. So the preoccupation of external order is not there. But it doesn't mean it's gone. Because you don't see it all the time doesn't mean it's gone. At a neutral moment, not when you're annoyed, but at a neutral moment, if you have a conversation with reasons, it's really difficult for everyone in the family if these books are all over the place. The pencils are left everywhere. I know that you all like to work together as a group, but I think it'll be very difficult unless you all start picking up. And can you all take some turns about how you put this away? How would you like to handle it? I don't think you can mess up the living room to this extent when your friends come. You have to look at how you're going to do it. And also, whichever the areas are, talk to her at a neutral moment. and discuss with her how she will do it and not impose a way. I think that very in an elementary class they will help them at some point, their mess will slowly start going behind them. So one of the things is can you bring everything within sight at least, so that at the end
I think the expectation still has to be there. Not during the work, because their mind and their bodies are moving too fast when they're
it's
in
like
the middle
saying
of
somebody is screaming at you, clean the kitchen while you're cooking. But
At
at
the
the
end
end or in the middle, can you start putting things away? If you've started washing the 2-3 things while that is boiling, then it gets. So like that, if you can help them in between, can you clear some and then make sure that you don't have so much to do at the end.
I have a question, kind of linked to this.
You set up your own thing about playing with her. That idea of play and needing you. Now you have to work on how to actually break that expectation.
You can set the time and say to her, don't think she doesn't understand time.
Yeah.
They can't understand time, that's true. But they can understand time frames in a broad way. And you need to continually prepare her. I would say prepare her orally, not at that time, earlier. So when you pick her up from school, when I go home I have to work. I'll be at the computer for about 2 hours. So at this time I can't play with you. And then just at that time, do not look up if she calls you.
Don't keep answering her, because once you answer, basically she's got what she wanted. She's interrupted.
So help her. Say, now I'm going. Okay. Now have you got everything that you need? You can be here in this room. You can't be with me in this room, or you can be with me in this room. But you have to be here. I will not talk to you at this time. And then you have to little bit bite your tongue and stay with it. At least for an hour. Don't talk. And then say after an hour I'll get up to drink coffee. That time I'll come and talk to you. But even then I can't be with you at that time. I'll have to drink coffee and go back.
If it helps, a clock, because an hour, or because they don't really know how to tell the time. But you have to make it long enough and don't answer them. Because it's not as if they're not. I always say to you, unless your child is deaf, they're definitely not dumb. They're very clever. Why do you have to say it more than once? So don't get in the habit of repeating.
I know a mother whose child keeps calling her, right, when she's at work. And then she keeps answering the phone and said, I've told you not to call me. Like that. You can't call me, ma'am, you cannot call me. So she said, why are you answering the phone? It's like so silly. So it's that. You don't see it, but you know what it is? It's your heart.
Yeah.
You don't want them.
See the child is started throwing tantrums.
And they want you.
Not just tantrums, I think they just swell up their eyes sometimes and Mama, I love you so much.
The other day she was like,
So clever.
the other day she was telling
They know which buttons to push.
I had to go and attend to her.
Big eyes, right?
Big eyes, welling up tears, screaming. That also the volume, they'll watch and they'll see the volume will be cranked just as you see I've seen children close the mouth when they sense they want. They have won your attention. So now I can close my mouth. I don't have to give any extra one cry extra because now I have won. No, so I don't need to shout even 1 second, waste my energy more. I have won. So that it should never become that. And remember, when you are away from your child for an hour, they will be fine. That you're not their love for you is not dependent on that. That is what melodramatic movies speak. They are used to they are drama queens, all of them drama kings and drama queens. So that you can't give in to. Remember, they don't know that yet, but working gives you happiness, and the children have to understand that is true for everyone, and that's fine. It just has to be. Guilt is something that is the middle name of every parent. Somehow you feel that what you're doing somehow is not enough, but I want you to know it is. It's more than enough for what they are. You just have to be a little firm sometimes. If you are clear why you're being firm, you're not working for your own benefit. You work for your family. And so that is simply something that the child has to accept, and it will be fine. But you have to do it consistently and be very confident that what you're doing is I'll tell you the kind of work that never interferes with schoolwork. What never interferes with schoolwork is helping the children to expand their knowledge. And that expansion of knowledge comes from two sources. It comes from reading and it comes from exposure to a wider world. You're in Delhi, you're in a place where art, music, science is at your fingertips everywhere. We've got museums here that we wish in the rest of the country we have. Have your children gone not once, 8, 9, 10 times a year to the museum? The same museum, over and over and over again. How many times have they seen the history section in the National Museum? This is the place where history begins. There are museums here that you can't, not only big museums, there are some small museums here that are supposed to be amazing. I haven't seen all of them, but I've visited one or two really fantastic art museums. So I think that is really where their knowledge, their experience, and for that, make them buy the ticket, make them walk, make them decide how long they want to be there, what they want to see, which section they'd like to go. 10, 15, 20 times you take them to the same place. Nothing could be more useful than that. I remember when my nephew went through that phase where he was crazy about dinosaurs. And I remember we went to Crocodile Bank in Madras every week we used to be there. And he used to know where the gharials were, he used to know various things that I don't think I got from that. What they get will be way more than you get. Way more.
Then the other side is, what is maths? Why do you actually do maths? It's not a workbook, it's not to take a test, right? Maths is about living. So actually the first place, if you want to include, can start very young, is the creating of the shopping list. How much do we need? The kitchen is the best place for maths and science. So telling the time, working out how long, constantly discussing how long will it take, how much do we need, if we have, this recipe is for 2 people, but we need to feed 6 people, what do I have to do? So when we do things at home, then the link between what they're learning as tables to solve problems in reality. And when it comes to age, I think what they love is just kind of problems, the word problems. That you can offer them. I love to do puzzles. If you like, I love puzzles. I love all these. My whole life I have puzzle books. So that's learning tables is, that's only a kind of a mechanism which hopefully they will have learned.
So mathematical tempers again.
But knowing why we use it. Knowing why we use it. That's why using money, spending money, knowing how much we need for that ticket. Okay, the ticket cost.
How long will it take to reach there? How much will it cost? So the total cost of the whole expedition, including taxi fare, what is it?
And let them make the mistakes. Don't correct them as they're doing. Especially at 8 and onwards, right?
No, don't go there, it's this way. Let them figure it out and come back.
Many people will say, no, I think you're making a mistake there. Do it again. We shouldn't be telling them. The life experience should tell them. Then they'll realize why they're learning. Otherwise, what's the point of these tables? And geometry. What is geometry? Why do we do geometry? It's all about noticing shapes, right? And working out space. So, even your room, your furniture, your life, there's geometry all around. So.
But this is often in comparison between the conventional school systems. If one is convinced that the other members of the family might not be, they have seen us grow a certain way. So when there is this comparison that such and such person is taking Olympiads and giving this exam, Our children don't do it, they don't write enough, they don't calculate at that speed. So eventually when they transition out, would they not suffer? So that is a question that often, it's haunting, right? For any parent who is trying a certain approach.
I completely understand your anxiety. It's not that I don't understand the anxiety, but I'm going to ask all of you to stay strong and to know that this is good for them. And that is it, really. There's nothing that you can say that to somebody that Olympiads. It's not even to convince somebody that Olympiads are good or bad. It's really about helping them. What are they really asking you? They are really, and what are you really struggling to say? You're worried that if they don't do conventional rote work, they will suffer. But they won't.
That's the assumption.
That's the assumption, but there is so much neurological evidence now that it will be to their good and not to their benefit, and that rote learning really harms the mind. There's no doubt about it. It blocks creativity. It blocks children from thinking outside the box. So I think that, you'll have to find the evidence and quote the evidence and say to them with strength, no, there is evidence now to show that those kinds of learnings are not very useful to children.
Typically with multiplication tables, and there are comments that if you knew the tables, you would have calculated it instantly.
But
those things let them answer themselves.
Yeah.
The 7-year-olds are capable of answering that for themselves.
Actually, they do need to know. So they are the ones that have to push themselves to learning it. There are certain things they have to know. And there are expectations also. And if they want to test themselves and do, word problems, they want to let them choose it, because some might be more on the literature side, or some people are more on the numbers side. They have to have exposure to it. We just mustn't force it. And I just want to come back to what Ruku said. In Sweden, I don't know whether you know, they were the first country to actually remove books and introduce computers. And you know what they've done now? They're now taking out the computers to put the books.
Australia has pulled that out.
Yeah.
And actually, the first thing to help your children with is to reduce time with the screen. Actually, there's a book that says that you shouldn't give it to them till they're 16. I think we limit it in Montessori. Actually, in Montessori, we open the door to it. We open the door by hopefully creating interest. We never stop the children to learn. And
children can learn, no, I just want to interrupt, children can learn 5 languages, that's true. But the language exposure has to be when you take any baby and take that baby and a 9-year-old and an adult from Delhi to Chennai. Who will learn Tamil first? Yeah, the baby will learn. It's about exposure and understanding. So unless you have exposure, the child won't even learn language. I'm not even sure, at least you all are in Noida, Uttar Pradesh, I think at least the ka, ke, ki in Hindi comes for the children. In different places, if you don't have exposure to good Hindi, these children won't get it either. So the question is that are we able to expose them when they are little to languages? And you can't do that in an unnatural setting. It happens only when that society has 3-4 languages in the background that you can get it. You can't, when you say you can give it, you can't give it by giving tuition. So, or even by teaching. So when you teach, you immediately are limiting it to what you can teach, which is limited to 5 lessons, 8 lessons. So what we can teach is always a limitation. How to learn is for life and for the child, and it's limitless. So that's what I think Montessori is. It's a strategy for learning. And they need to find what to learn on their own. And that exposure is more important than teaching them content.
I'd like to add on to this language concept. Like we are from South India, we speak Malayalam at home, and we listen to Tamil music. My child, one day he took what in this music. He is okay with Hindi, English and Malayalam. He's quite comfortable right now. then we said it's Tamil song. But after listening to few things, he don't speak it. He can identify the lyrics are Tamil. So it's natural. We didn't teach him Tamil, or even I don't read Tamil, but we listen to the music. So I think naturally they pick up. So that's how they learn the language.
I also learned Tamil when I was there. For the course. I immersed myself because all my roommates, classmates, they were talking in that. And this, one learns like that.
There has to be a social context. Otherwise, it's difficult to learn a language. Good question actually. It's the first thing I would say is independence. What the children don't have now is independence. So don't supervise her homework. Don't oversee every aspect of what she does. Don't let her pack her own bag for school. Let her pack her own lunch for school. Let her be as independent as possible. I think there is no other support that you can give a young child who's growing as saying, I will not do it for you.
But then what happens is when she gets homework, and obviously in a class of 30, you're not getting that kind of attention. And then you're failing your exams. And that, because that's a conversation I've already had. And there was a conversation about how the confidence of the child will be impacted because the children on her peer group are already academically, in the writing way, a little ahead of her. I personally don't have an issue up till a certain age, but
I don't have an issue all her life. If she fails in an exam, she won't fail in life.
Actually, I want to say something to you. No one wants to fail.
Yeah. She'll figure it out.
She will figure it out. If she needs help, you need to be able to listen and offer help without the push and the stress. If you don't feel stressed and she knows you're there to help, do you need help, offer help, they will ask for help. They don't want to fail.
Also, Ruby, Anne always says, Ruby, that I still hear her say, a psychologist friend of hers told her, be a parent. Let a teacher be a teacher, let a parent be a parent. Your job is not to teach them math. That's not your responsibility. So I think that you have to find all these parameters and see what it means to be a parent. Fixing them in maths or science or language or thing is not your...
If they're struggling, they should ask, the teacher should be helping them with whatever it is. You are helping them with their character.
See, again, it comes from a place that where I've also gone through the entire thing and it didn't really help me. I asked, and again, when you ask questions repeatedly in general classrooms, you're just deemed as somebody who's not smart enough to follow. And this comes from a lot of trauma from my childhood, wherein I don't want to put her into a traditional classroom, but circumstances are such that I can't really help. Now I know that's not a her problem, it's going to be my problem, and I want to figure out how do I deal with it better so that she doesn't latch onto my emotions and sort of get worried about
If you want her not to latch onto your emotions, you have to deal with it. And you have to be confident that she's going to be happy and successful, and you're going to enjoy and celebrate her success, and that you're going to love her despite her results in all her exams. And that's all you ever have to be, a loving parent who loves the child regardless of their academic performance. If you do that, she'll be fine.
To support her, that's what I'm saying. If she needs help, she needs to know how to ask you, and you need to know how to offer the right help. That's what it is. And you can't take on everything. Yeah. But you need to actually build her confidence in herself. It does come from the way you live together. That's why it comes back to what we were saying at the beginning. Education is about how to live life. And if you can live life at home, where she's involved in the thinking process, involved in planning your home life, involved in cooking, cleaning, that's life, isn't it? And there's a lot of and go out together, as Rupu said. So take the things and do things together, build a love in something. Because when a child wants to do something, they will. Coming back to language, my niece fell in love with manga, this Japanese. She went and taught herself Japanese because she loved it. She wanted to do it. So when they want something, they will do it. So we just have to make sure we expose them. We can't pump them with information.
I think for me, there are definite things that I think under 6-year-olds can take in a conversation, and some things that they shouldn't be exposed to. War is a very, very hard concept. And I would say that for me, I would be very cautious and careful about how we expose them to the idea of war. I don't know about you, but I would not start a conversation that you can't finish. And a conversation about either Russia or Ukraine or Thailand or Gaza, you cannot complete and finish that conversation with a young child.
Not a 4-year-old.
Definitely not a 4-year-old. And I think that you can't take that through to a conclusion with where they can draw their own conclusions. So I would not go there with young children. But what they hear and what they have exposure to, I think that when they come to you with questions, you need to be able to listen more than answer. You have to find out where those questions are coming from, why they are coming, before we answer the child about anything. Whether it's about a new baby, whether it's about a new about a family situation, whatever it is, we have to help them by listening and by
waiting. For them to come with questions, or do we control the narrative and start introducing? Not necessarily.
I would never control a narrative with a child, and I would always wait for a particularly under 6 child to come with a question before I launched into anything that was definitely likely to be sensitive.
A similar situation, similar situation happened with my entire family in the armed forces, and last year when operations in both happening, it was a tense moment. And of course, my daughter picked up on it, and she was curious because my sister, my brother-in-law, my husband, multiple other relatives were all in cases where what was actually happening. So then how do I, and what do I do? So again, at that point in time, I told her this is something that I tried to dilly-dally it. But again, we're in such a situation.
So I'm saying, you have to listen to what they need, and you have to say as little as possible, and listen carefully under the text of what they're, because when they're asking a question, they're not really asking what you think they're asking. It's not the question of an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, or a 10-year-old.
What you guide is for the child in the first plane, first 6 years, their question is actually just what.
Are you afraid?
So the answer is what, and it has to be in a way related to reality. So if it's happening in the family, you can't avoid it. This is what is happening. And it's an answer to the question what. The why questions can be answered only after 6. The mind is not ready for the whys. And it's so abstract when you're talking about wars in countries that don't, in their mind doesn't, they have no idea what
feeding an imagination which is
not ready
to receive it. I would just, the question is, why aren't we going on a holiday? It would have been a very simple answer. Yeah, there is some issue, we cannot go on a holiday. We cannot get a booking. It would have been as simple.
So you heard us talking actually. So that's what we said. Like just like two friends can be upset sometimes, two countries are just upset.
But don't even go there.
That's what I'm saying. So whatever the question was,
let's say we're not going on holiday, it's cancelled. We're going to do something else now. Instead of this, we're going to do something else.
The question is that when it's a question that comes up from the children, the question is really, are you scared? Am I supposed to be scared? Am I supposed to be that? They're reading from you what their emotions should be. So your questions, your answers have to be sensitive to the real question that they're asking. And so therefore for an under 6 child whose imagination and understanding of the world is not yet fully there, it can be problematic to give them language for something that they don't fully understand. Then they know the words, but they won't know the meaning. That's really good. No, I think he will grow in his understanding of death. It will grow. It will not go away. That's how he has been exposed to it now. It's from a family member passing, and so gradually the more questions will come, and gradually over time it will. His understanding will grow. What do we understand about death? You and I, what do we understand about death? We don't understand it in its totality. We can't. But gradually the understanding will grow, and he will be okay. And in a way, grief and these experiences teach us. slowly
I
what
don't
it
know
is.
if he experienced it, he will randomly ask.
No, it
the
sounds
test.
random. It will be
Yeah.
there, no, at the back of your mind, it might be there. He will bring it up when he needs. The fact that he's asking questions is always something that is good, right? Because there is an opening for, what he's thinking about. It may not be all the time. I don't think you need to worry that this is his worry all the time. It's just that over time, it will go.
I think we should wind up.
Yes.